Well, hello. Today I'd like to welcome you to something different. I'm going to, as kind of part of my pen repair series, I thought I would start doing what I'm going to call pen dissection, where I'm just going to take a pen entirely apart and repair it and then put it back together. I am going to continue to do targeted videos on things like sacks and so on, but I just think there's something to be said for just watching the whole process. So the pen that I have for you today is, I gotta make sure I get the name right, is the Parker Duofold Streamline Jr., which is a pen from the 1930s. You will notice that the lighting changes, the background changes, and there's several other changes, because oftentimes pen repair isn't just a single day process. This took place over several weeks because at one point I found out I was missing the parts I needed. So that was special. But anyway, I hope you enjoy. And hopefully this... Oh yeah, and some of the audio will change because, as you may be able to tell, my microphone died. So some parts of the video are filmed with the microphone, some are filmed without it, just to make it extra special. So let's take a look at the pen. Alright, so since it's a different kind of video, I'm going to not zoom in on the pen so much because there's more things you'll want to look at. So this is a nice Parker Duofold, vintage. You can see... Maybe. Oh, there we go. Let's twist this light around, if I can. So there you can kind of see it's sagging. Okay, so there you can kind of see the whole flake finish in it and so on. So just a really nice looking pen. Oh, it also has... Maybe you can make this out. I can't. TOWACROSSLOVS. I don't know what that says. But anyway, just a very nice looking pen. But it doesn't write. Now, I will admit, usually I save this for the last step, but I did it just to see. I bought a new polishing cloth from somebody, and I just wanted to see how it worked, and yeah, it works very well. So usually that's a last step, but whatever, it's what I did. So we'll uncap it. I usually like to look at the nib. Right now it's not catching, so I've got a good feeling about the nib, and I'm not going to mess with it. The nib is pretty minimalist. So, I already know the sack is bad, and I'm going to give you a free suggestion right now. Do not operate the sack, especially if it's a lever filler, if the sack is bad, because you'll just end up bending parts you may not be able to replace. So, I would just remove the section here to get rid of the sack. Now, some of these sections are friction fit, some of them are twist fit. You should research it if you can. This one is most likely friction fit. And you saw me trying to remove it with my fingers. That's my preferred tool. If fingers don't work, there are section pliers. So section pliers look like this. They have a nice rubberized section for grasping the pen. And you want to use minimal force. Remember, my first principle of pen repair is first do no harm. So, the other thing is, when you do this, leave the nib and feed in the pen, because otherwise you could go crunch. And I have had a few pens where this is actually glued in place, and I've not found a good solution when you have one of them, but this one's giving. Okay, it gave. That's always a terrifying part for me. I'll just be honest. So we've got our section with fossilized bits of sack on it, which we'll have to deal with. And then we have the pen body. So we got to get the sack out of there. Since it is a Parker, by the way, I should note that... Okay, maybe if I zoom this in a little. There we go. It's going to have a little grabber doodle, which I think is the scientific term for it, that sticks up. Other button fillers won't have that. But, you know, inside you've got this fossilized sac that you have to remove. And it will probably, oh yeah, and make sure your parts don't roll away. It will probably come out in bits and pieces. I'm going to remove the button. It just pulls out. And actually the pressure bar just pulled out too, so we're golden. Right? So what you need is some kind of tool that I don't have to pull the sack out from inside. So I'm faking it a little. There's some more sack. Again, we want to be gentle. I got a narrower tool over here somewhere. A chopstick. Some sacks come right out, others involve work. And there are special tools sold for getting up in there and getting stuff, but you know, I don't own any of those special tools, so this is what I got to work with what I have. See a nice bit of sack in there. Whee! It's got to come out because, you know, if it's in there, it's just going to be in the way when you put the new sack and new parts in. Let's try being aggressive with the square end. Woo! There went some chunks. Near as I can tell, I got everything. See through it. So let's set the barrel aside. Let's take a look at this monstrosity. So you need to get all of this sack off of here. Now, one of the things that a lot of pen people do, and still do some verb, is they use sack shellac to attach the sack to the section. I'll talk later when I get to that part about why I'm not a fan of that. And one of these days I need to do a resacking review, but this is just going to be let's do a whole pen. So I usually scrape it off with my fingernails. Occasionally I'll use some other tools, but you know, it's plastic, so I don't want to use tools that are too aggressive. So I just destroy my fingernails. They grow back, by the way, in the process of doing this. Some people also use a little bit of heat to soften the shellac. I personally am terrified of heat, so I don't use heat. But as you can see, I basically got it off. So now what I like to do, and I'll throw this piece of paper and all that. I am surprised that's all there was to the sack. I wonder if they had one that was too small in there. Anyway, I'm going to soak the section. I don't recommend soaking the other parts because you can destroy vintage finishes, but sections are meant to handle water, so they're usually hardier about it. So we'll have to fast forward in time to the next bit of this because we got to deal with this first. And let's get the fragments of sack out of the way. As you can see, we got oodles of junk inside that nib, so we got a bit of soaking to do. So last night I soaked the nib unit. There was a lot of ink came out of it. I did not soak the other parts because, of course, you don't. They're not meant to be soaked. If we look at the nib, I didn't take the nib and feed out. It looks aligned, and it feels fairly smooth. So why mess with it if I don't have to? You know, looking at the nib, the tines look aligned to me. So all looks good. Of course, we cleaned this out yesterday. I'm just looking at it under slightly different light off screen here just to make sure we got all bits of sack out, because it was, didn't seem like I got enough sack out, but, probing the inside with this and nothing's, a little bit more. Oops. Okay, so not getting anything else out of it. So I think it's clean. Now, what's going to happen is the button goes in here, but I have to put this in first. Now this is a pressure bar. Parkers are kind of unique because they come in 3 pieces. Let's see if I can demonstrate here. So you press on the button, and this bit pushes against the sack. Now, it is corroded. So it's always a gamble. Do you put the corroded one back in, or do you put in a brand new one? And I have some brand new ones around. Looks like I grabbed the wrong bag of pressure bars, but I did decide before I started filming, I'm going to risk the old one. So the other thing we need to do is put a sack in the pen. And it's going to need to go around this part right here. Now, I like latex sacks because they just, they're reasonably... Okay, just a second. I pulled my... This is where they belong, but I pulled them out because I was going to do a separate video entirely on resacking pens. So I've got them out. Just a second. Yes, I was gone for a week in the middle of filming this. So I had more time to think while I was gone. So one thing I was thinking about, I think I am going to put a new one of these in because I think it'll last longer. So I have a handy selection of these. And they come in a couple flavors. You know, these are called J bars. That they will not work in this pen. These are for lever fillers. The J is up here. And one of these days I'll do a video about J bars and pressure bars and so on. But these are pressure bars. Now these are used by button fillers, and they come in basically several sizes and 2 flavors. I bought a variety pack. One good place to get vintage supplies is Anderson Pens. Another one is David Nishimura. You're going to see repair parts from both here. So a basic pressure bar that's in a lot of button fillers looks like this. And the goal is when you push on the button, it pushes this bit against the sack and squeezes it. So I've got 2 sizes of that, but that's not the type of pen I have. So put them back in their little bag. I have a Parker. Now Parkers come with 3 pieces. I'm not, 100% sure what the benefit of having 3 parts is, but that's how they roll. There's this one. Now, one thing about them, this bit, whoops, let's see, hold it still here. This bit is going to hang up kind of as around the lip. So let me show you what I mean. So these are 2 vintage Duofolds. This one you've seen them both before. This orange one is getting a little nib work done on it. And it also apparently is the exception to what I was just talking about. So we'll look at this one. This is a smaller vintage Duofold, whose color has been, the color's been a little discolored by the breakdown of the latex sac. But anyway, what I want to show you is it's got this little lip doodle that just hangs there above on the lip. So that's what this is going to do. It'll help hold it in place. Out of order, but if you're curious what a vintage nib and feed look like, these are from another Duofold. So ebonite, and this is the vintage nib from another Duofold that may need a little work yet. Topic for a different video though. My first principle is first do no harm, so since the nib on this seems perfectly smooth, I'm not going to touch it. Although the feed looks a little more exciting. Okay, enough talking. The other thing that I'm going to need, so we'll put the pressure bars away, maybe get the right sized one. Since I've got the vintage one here, I'll just eyeball it. It's the smaller of the two. So I'll put the other one back in its sack. I have one pen where I had to do some custom cutting to get a pressure bar the right size, but apparently normally they're all the same standard sizes. Now the other thing we're going to need is a latex sac to squeeze against. And that right there is why I ended up pausing the video last time, because I couldn't find my latex sacs, so I must have used, I don't know what I did with them. But anyway, I did find them again. So I have a variety pack. Some Parkers will use this type that's got like a little nipple in it. These will be your vacuumatic fillers, but this is a regular pressure bar filler. So the big thing is just to decide what size we want. Now, does it have to be latex? No. There's silicone sacs, there's PVC sacs. The big disadvantage to them is that they are more porous, so water will evaporate out of them. I bought a multi-pack. Some sacs are sold with a narrow neck. I've never worked with a pen that calls for one, but they do exist. So now the big thing is just finding the right size sac for this pen. And I'm going to do something I don't normally do, which is I'm going to use sac shellac because I notice a crack there, and I think the sac shellac will help seal that. Now the reason I don't usually like sac shellac, and it's just basically a varnish, is then that's one more thing I'm going to have to clean off if I ever have to resac this pen. But before I even worry about that, I need a sac. Not too big, not too small. Could I measure it and figure it out? Yeah, but I eyeball it. Okay, too big. So I'm looking for something that's a little smaller. That's a possibility. Slimmer possibility. And let's do one that's obviously too small. Yeah, see, that's not going to work at all. So they come in several sizes, and like I said, possibility, but that seems a little bit too small. And so, okay, we'll put the rest of them back. So basically I'm down to these two. I don't even know what size they are. I don't care. Okay, so do I go with that option or this option? And I think I'm going to go with the slightly smaller option. Okay, we're getting there. Put my cigarette box full of... I don't know how I got a cigarette box. I don't know where it came from. But I'm going to put that aside. And I'm going to now... got to do one more thing. the sack is going to be about there, and we need it to fit inside a pen body that's about to there. And we want it to come to the top, like somewhere right around here. So that means I'm going to have to cut off maybe about 1 centimeter. Then I'll eyeball it again. See, I'm eyeballing this. Are scissors the best tool? Probably not. But it's the tool I have, so we're just going to go with it. Will this fit? I think it'll fit, but I want to cut a little bit more off. Okay. So what'll happen is then this sack just gets, some people will roll them up, and there's tools to help you fit them, but I just usually use my fingers and fit them. So I'm going to just do a dry fit here without the sack shellac. Oops. And I'm struggling a little. If I'm struggling too much, that might be a bad sign. Okay, like I said, one of the other options is just to roll it up. And we've got a dry fitting. So we'll put it in up here again. And it does seem to be about the right length. All right. Now, sack shellac is not necessary. Some people also use a little bit of Elmer's glue or wood glue or something. I am using it this time because I want to make sure about that crack. The trouble is I'm filming this on a Wednesday, and this is going to be my video for today. Now it will not be, because this will need time to dry before I can do anything with it. I'm just going to set this aside, and we'll snork this back on, this little sack back on. Whoops. So we've installed a sack. We'll paint a little bit around the outside just to help seal it in place. Not, too much, just a little. And we'll see you in 24 hours. I don't know when is the last time I did a video that was filmed in this many takes, but so I let the shellac dry overnight, actually over 2 nights, but who's counting? So it's pretty dry on the outside and on the inside. So I think, I was hoping I'd hear a little puff of air when I squeezed that, but I guess not. So now we're almost ready, and I'm not going to do this yet, but we're almost ready to stick this puppy in here. But we've got one more little step we got to do. We need some lubrication. Now, I can't use silicone grease or anything like that, but I have to lubricate this sack, and I learned the hard way how important that is. So what I want to use is talc. Now, this is not talcum powder, this is talc. And when I say talc, that means it's pure. So if you go to your grocery store and get that stuff that they put on babies for some reason, it's not going to work. Because it's full of binders and other things. Now, what I like to do, it comes sort of like this. I learned I like to put it into a plastic bag. Good enough. And then I'm going to lubricate my sack. So, get a good wampus on it. That will also, if some moisture gets in the barrel, that will help remove it. Now, ideally, I'd love if I could stick this in, you know, everything in together. Wow, exposure. But what I learned the hard way is it's a lot easier to stick this in. So, where do I want the engraving? Do I want to see it? No. But I'll put it not behind, I'll put it to the side. Reseat that. I don't like to glue that in place. And then this puppy, we gotta have this little grabber deal on the outside. And so we're just gonna push it so it's on the outside of the sack. We'll do our best here. This is another reason, you know, maybe a slightly smaller sack would be good. And this is the worst part of button fillers. Because some of them, Parkers are a lot harder. A lot of them I just like to, there we go. Okay. A lot of them I just like to push in from the side or from the top. Sometimes they have to be put in from the bottom, then you try and work it all together. So it seems to be working like it should. So for posterity, I will edit this next little scene out. I'm going to quick photograph it. Actually, before I ink it up, can we just take a moment just to appreciate what a beautiful pen this is? You know, I started taking close-ups of the finish when I was taking pictures just now. That is gorgeous. So one thing I noticed while I was taking pictures is we've got George S. Parker, and then it says made in Canada. So this is a very polite pen. And then here, Duofold. And I still can't quite decide what this name is supposed to be. Well, it must be in Canadian. That's a joke. For those of you who are going to correct me, I do know what languages are spoken in Canada. Alrighty, so let's ink it up and see how it writes. So I think a nice Parker deserves a nice Parker ink. Plus, if something bad happens, this is a washable ink. So, moment of truth. Do we get bubbling or not? Yes, we do. And more. Hot dog. Alrighty. I was surprised the first time I ever used a button filler how little you actually press the button. But it works, you know, through the magic of leverage. So physics. Alrighty, so this is, not only is this a pen dissection, this is a first impression. So had to turn down the exposure there because I couldn't read that. Anyway, one thing I realized as I was writing with it, I hadn't paid attention before, at least don't think I remember noticing it. This is a slightly oblique nib. Alrighty, so of course Parker Duofold purple, so we have Parker Quink. Obliques are designed for when you hold them at an angle. Parker Quink, washable blue. Ooh. Now this is a nice writer, especially as I get used to it. I feel like it should be a little longer, but that's the design. Flex. Not really. Does it need flex? We'll do the oblique thing first. No, I don't think it needs flex. Wetness and flow. Yeah. Smear test. Not really as wet as I thought it would be, but I'm okay with that. Reverse writing, which with an oblique can be a little awkward. We'll just see. You know, usually I say, oh, it's a little finer, but this time I'd say it's a little broader. And finally, the world-famous Peer-Gustafson test. Ooh. Recovered quickly, but yeah, on the horizontal strokes, not so much. But as you can see, it's recovered. Yeah, horizontal strokes, but that's okay. I think I'm going to enjoy writing with this one. I'm actually kind of excited to write with this one, to tell you the truth. Alright, so that was my Parker Duofold Streamline Junior. I want to say it's the short model, but I didn't actually measure it. Burgundy and black. The photographs I was looking at the finish were more reddish, but I'm pretty sure that's what it is. And nice, beautiful celluloid. And as you saw, it turns out to be a good writer, even if it can't quite pass the Peer-Gustafson test. I've been enjoying writing with it since I fixed it. So I'm quite pleased with how this pen turned out. I don't have a pocket in this shirt, but as you can see, it fits over my t-shirt with no problem. And I do see a little bit of distance between the clip and the pen barrel. I don't know if that's by design or it's just gotten stretched by fitting in somebody's really fat shirt. But either way, I'm very happy with this pen. So glad I did the work. I don't know what took me so long because it's been sitting around. I've been just thinking, no, this is going to be work. But it's the kind of work I enjoy. So, and this one was a very nice payoff. So, and I will just add this. Purchasing a vintage Duofold can be an expensive thing to do. Unless you look for one that needs some repair work. Suddenly that significantly lowers the price. This one I think I could have gotten away with just a new sack, but I decided to put a new pressure bar in it too, just so that wouldn't be something that fails later, because I have had one pen where I said, well, I'll just use the vintage one, and it broke. So, guess I really have nothing else intelligent to say. Let me know what you think of this dissection format, if it's something I should keep doing. Like I said, we've got targeted videos coming. I'm going to be doing one on sacking. I will specifically get into the J-bar. I've got a pen, must be over there. I've got a pen anyway laying around here that needs a new J-bar, and I have one that needs a new pressure bar. So I will get into the intricacies of those in their own separate videos. And know a little bit more about how the buttons work and so on. So look forward to that. I want to thank you for watching. We'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.